is Dino Dan from Cypress, California, and you're watching the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings of live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to jump in this evening through social platforms or emails, but you don't know the contact info, I have it for you right here.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter. We are entering into Q4 of 2022, believe it or not, and where we would usually find the pitmaster of Killer Hogs competition team and the co-creator of How to Barbecue Right. He has some sporting duties to attend to, wasn't able to find time for the show. However, and I don't like to say fill-in guest, just a great human being and an accomplished championship award-winning pitmaster sitting in his place, and we're happy to have him. The pitmaster of Swine Life BBQ, Mark Williams, rejoins the show, and we're happy to have him filling in this evening. And we'll be talking to Mark a little bit about YouTube. We'll be talking to him about websites. We'll be talking to him about taking a run at the Praise the Lard contest a couple weeks ago, doing very well on both sides of that. That's a unique competition. We'll let Mark lay that out for you in case you're not familiar with it. And then also the week before that, nabbing a grand championship. So geared up for the Praise the Lard contest, to say the least. So Mark doing very well on the competition scene this year. We'll talk to him about his thoughts on competition currently in 2023 and where he might see the sport evolving or devolving into as the rest of the year closes out. We get in... Did I say 2023? 2022, evolving or devolving in 2023. So Mark Williams first up out of the gate. Then 35 past the hour. We missed her in her quarterly segment last quarter, but she's back in a little earlier than normal here, though. Jess Pryles from Hardcore Carnivore and JessPryles.com. Plenty to catch up with Jess. Some is dated, so I've just eliminated it. However, we'll be getting her thoughts on NyQuil chicken. Also, we'll be talking about a new product or two that she has put out. One of them is recent. The other one, and it's got to be 5 months old at this point, but I had it on the list as new 3 months ago. And there's plenty of stuff to talk about. Plus, we'll do the little musical game show at the end to see if she can pull two in as many quarters out on the correct side, because before that, they had all been losers. So Jess Pryles closes the first hour. Then we'll move to the second hour. It is the first Tuesday of a month. And in the second hour, first interview segment, or 14 past, Sam the Cooking Guy joins us. Almost at 4 million YouTube subscribers as we're talking here this evening. And as I had mentioned before, last time he was on was the last time you will see a monthly What Is Sam Like Best game show. We've revised that format a little bit. You'll see it once a quarter now. And what we were finding was we didn't have a lot of time left after the game to talk actual food and cooking and all that fun stuff, which is what we're really looking to do. Some of you had piped up and said, hey, we missed the banter between you two and the actual cooking talk. Let's get back to some of that. We were way ahead of you by last month, and that's what's going to happen in 14 past the second hour. And then 35 past, and we're crossing fingers. I think we have the time zones worked out. We are reloading Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue out there in Houston, Texas. We tried to sound check, but he was caught in traffic. And while I'm not one to necessarily throw caution to the wind in Leonard's case, I am certainly willing to take the risk. I told them if it sounded like crap, we will dump quick, early, and often, and then try and reschedule once again. He agreed. Plus, I sent him some really great directions that nobody ever follows. So fingers crossed, in an hour and 20 minutes from now or so, Leonard Botello will be on the line, that his mic will sound good, and we can talk about the history of Truth Barbecue and where barbecue is sitting right now in Texas as 2022 is coming to a close. So that's how the show is laying out. Mark Williams, Jess Pryles, first hour, Sam, the cooking guy, and Leonard Botello in the second hour. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show. Also, you can take in the show via YouTube/RD Rempe, where there's also a nice and robust chat going on currently. I will also take a second to say hello to all of you using our audio streaming platform, Clubhouse. So if you'd rather hear us and not see us, Clubhouse is the way to do that. So let's start here this evening. Believe it or not, who knew this was going to happen? It's in the works. Can I say this? Pepper Mill Challenge. Of course, in one corner, we have the retail $199 pepper cannon, the anodized aluminum housing. It feels like it weighs a number of pounds. You can hear there's whole peppercorns in there. And it bills to be quick loading. It bills to be able to really dial in the grind. I think there's 35 different clicks. On the bottom here, you can see that's all nice German engineered. This coming from Man Kitchen. I had Cleve Owens on the show a number of months ago, more as a connector of a previous guest from Launch Boom, Will Ford. But wouldn't you know, the pepper cannon from Man Kitchen is not the only $199 pepper mill on the market. No. Black Rain is here, $190. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where your math skills are, but in my hands right now, I am holding 400 retail dollars worth of pepper grinders, and there's only two of them, which means they are $200 a piece. Now, the Black Rain unit does come in black, but this is a nice stainless body, but it is aluminum from what I believe, but this is just more of a polished outside. You can see there's a little bit of a pepper window in there, so you can make sure that your peppercorn level is set right. Now, unlike the pepper cannon, where there's 35 or so clicks to dial in the pepper grind, here on the bottom, you can see lines corresponding. So the bigger line is your biggest grind, correspondingly going down. So all you have to do is just quickly turn the bottom dial here in order to dial in your selected grind or mesh. So we have 5 different levels that you can do that. Now, the pepper cannon is a manual up here, and we just twist and twist. But the volume of pepper is what the pepper cannon was really talking about. Here, well, for those of you that might be a little laissez-faire, at the very top, right here, push button. This is an electric pepper grinder costing you $199, and it's got a lithium-ion battery. And on one charge, the owner, Jimmy, says it will crack 100 pounds of pepper in a single charge. I don't know how much pepper you guys go through in your life, but that could be a lifetime of pepper for me, and I'm a big pepper fan. But coming up with Dr. Barbecue, Ray Lampe, we are going to be putting the Pepper Mill Challenge to the test. I will be using the Pepper Cannon, and Dr. Barbecue will be using Black Rain. If you need to spend $200 on a pepper mill, might I suggest the Pepper Cannon and or Black Rain? I have been using both now for quite a period of time. I mean, they're really good. I assume they better be at $200 a piece, right? Yes, of course. I got pepper all over the goddamn desk. Anyway, Mark Williams is ready to go. Folks, week 14 is here. I've got some great news, and I have some disheartening news that's also great news. What do we know? Well, over the course of the last 12 weeks prior, as I said, week 14, but those first 12 weeks, we took weight off. We dropped fat. We leaned out with the David McDowell's Do Wellness program. Of course, the website is davidleans.com/BBQ. And now we're in the process of putting muscle on. So as I told you last week, the goal is to put somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 pounds of muscle back on the frame. So we dropped, lightened up, shredded up, leaned out, and now we're going to start putting muscle back on the frame. Now, here's something to keep in mind. Safe and sustainable fat loss takes weeks. Obviously, I did it for 12 weeks. But building muscle takes months. Don't expect 10 to 15 pounds of muscle to come on at the same rate that you took the fat off. No. For instance, 10 pounds of muscle in a 12-month time frame is spectacular. So I need to readjust the expectations. I need new goals to look at. The good news is this. 12 weeks went by very quickly, and I was able to hit those goals following the plan that David laid out. And now, putting the muscle on is going to take a little bit longer, but we're doing it in the right way. So just another way of David making sure that the expectations are there. He's setting them properly, and now we have the goals to define. We've readjusted how we're eating now, what we're working out with, and I'm looking forward to packing on the muscles in the right way. If you want to join me in this mission, this journey, davidleans.com/BBQ. That's David Leans, Leans, davidleans.com/BBQ, and sign up and join me. I'm in week 14 now, and I'm ready to rock. We're back with more from Mark Williams right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit amazon.com to purchase as well and see what other products they have to lend a little smoky goodness to whatever it is you're cooking in your pellet-driven cooker. My first guest tonight, filling in for our usual opening segment guest, Malcom Reed from Killer Hogs and How to Barbecue Right. He's the pitmaster of Swine Life BBQ, the team and the brand, creator of the Swine Life BBQ YouTube channel. racing to the hotline and welcoming back friend of the show, Mark Williams. Hey, Mark.
How's it going, Greg?
I am spectacular. Mark, I don't want to assume that you happened to have caught the second hour of the show last week specifically. But if you didn't, I'm here to give you some breaking news. And it concerns you.
Central Show exclusive news update.
That's right. Greg Rempe from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, reporting on the most topical breaking news that is breaking across this nation of ours, nay, the globe. Mark, the second hour last week, the embedded correspondents and I put together a list of nominations for the 2022 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. And while I do have a bit of bad news to break, which is you didn't make it into the 2022 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame, you were nominated.
Hey, we'll take it.
Yes, you were nominated. So the thing that I remember the most is we didn't have any auto qualifiers. So that means, you would have a list of 5, I have a list of 5, and the other guys. And if everybody happened to have voted Mark Williams or nominated Mark Williams, automatically you're into the class of 2022. We didn't even have one automatic qualifier. We had quite of a robust list of names, all 4 of us. And then we have to go around one by one and pick a name we feel very impassioned about and then sell it to the other 3 guys. And then everybody has to agree that the sell job was perfect. And then that person is put into the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall. You can see it's very convoluted. It's a high-level process. Only the most educated can be part of this. But what I remember, it was
rigorous.
Oh yeah, it's very rigorous. Rusty from the great city of Utah is the one that nominated you and said we should be ahead of Mark Williams. We need to put him in now because he's going to blow up in 2023 and 2024. It was almost a foregone conclusion in Rusty's mind, Mark, that you are going to be in the Guest Hall of Fame, and why not get ahead of it? However, some of us, we had other ideas. But nominated. So what does that mean to you?
It means I'm coming late to the party, and I got a goal for next year.
That's right. All right. And Mark's a competitor. We certainly know that. So I was visiting the YouTube channel recently, 48,800 total subscribers at the moment. Well, what I did notice was that maybe it was 3 months since the last video was posted. So how hard is it to keep coming up with compelling items to cook regularly and then post regularly? Or did you just step away from it to do some other projects and you're coming back to it?
So we definitely had to take a break from it. We had a lot going on. I think the last video was our trailer video that we were building out. That's kind of our comp toy hauler trailer. That was all fun and that was great. And we had this plan. We're going to film all this, all these different videos with it. Well, we were having a trip in Colorado at the end of July, and we started on the trailer July 4th. And I had 3 weeks to get it done. So pretty much we worked till midnight every night getting it done, me and my brother and a couple other good friends, and got it done. And that was all great. But we just been so busy, and it's been a ton of stuff going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about that, I talked to you earlier about it, but Malcolm and myself and my brother and brother-in-law, we've created a whole nother brand called Buck Junkies. So we've been, dedicating a lot of time to it, and it's just been busy. Now we have a ton of videos fixing to hit. We got, I would say probably 10 before the end of the year we're going to try to release and get back in the swing of things and kind of get back in a routine. But it is hard to stay on track. It was a lot easier when I'd done something different for a living. When I wasn't around barbecue every day, it was easy to go home and film a barbecue video, but I'm around it 7 days a week now, and it's harder to find time for it, for sure.
Do you find it impressive? For instance, I have Sam the Cooking Guy comes on once a month in Malcolm's spot, but an hour later, 10:14. Here's a guy that's releasing 3 cooking videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I was originally introduced to Sam, it's got to be 11 or 12 years ago, when he was actually doing a live talk show / cooking show, which then morphed into what he has going on now, which is more of the, very highly produced, 18 to 25 minutes in length that nice YouTube wheelhouse of time and attention span. But cooking 3 days a week for, 10, 11 years, I mean, that's pretty impressive to continue to churn out that content that consistently and not get caught up in other stuff.
Oh, very much so. I mean, if you ask me, that man's not human. There's no way a normal human being could possibly do what he does. I respect that to the utmost. He's got a great channel, man. The content's unreal. I actually cook a lot of his recipes. One of the pasta contests we had up here at the office, I cooked one of his recipes for it, and it was
Which one was it?
noodles. The jazzed up butter noodles.
Huh.
The one that had the anchovy paste and fried garlic, and I loved it, man. It was great. And actually finished, I think, fourth or fifth, at the office, which we'll take it. Malcolm cheats every time, so it don't matter.
I was going to say, does Malcolm just win every single time?
To the most part, he's pretty consistent. He's pretty talented when it comes from shooting from the hip and these random categories. But we're coming for him, no doubt. We're coming for him.
Mark Williams from Swine Life BBQ joining us here on the show. SwineLifeBBQ.com is the website. He sells some really great rubs and other barbecue products, so you'd want to check that out as you hit the website as well. Mark, you competed at the Praise the Lard event. It was September 22nd through the 24th. That's in Murfreesboro, Illinois. And for those that are really steeped into the barbecue knowledge and tradition, 17th Street Barbecue is headquartered out of there, which is obviously the barbecue restaurant that the legend Mike Mills founded and is still in operation today. I had mentioned it in a teasing way in the open. This is a unique event. What makes it unique?
Hey, my favorite thing about it is the location. It's small town America, and it's so much history right there, especially with barbecue. And that's one thing that just really hits it for me. But what makes it so unique is it's a KCBS MBN duel. So you have all 4 meat KCBS categories, and then you turn around and have the 3 meats for MBN, whole hog, shoulder, and rib. And there's not many contests in the nation that's like that. There's a few. I mean, we have one here local, but there's nothing. I mean, praise the Lord, that's one of my favorite contests, hands down.
When you mention it's a duel, is it something akin to an American Royal where you have the invitational on Saturday and then you turn around and do the open on Sunday, or is this both ends going off the same day?
You're firing both guns at the same day. It's
wow.
You got it's a busy day.
How does the day lay out?
I don't know that it ever starts or it never ends. It's hard to say because I mean we kind of teamed up. So I handled everything on the KCBS side of things, and then we teamed up as a group with a bunch of our buddies: Heath Riles, Jay Craig, Tennessee Mojo. We had a bunch of group of guys that just wanted to cook together and have a good time. So we teamed up, made Band Outlaws. So Band Outlaws handled the MBN side. So we put a hog on at midnight Friday night, and that's when our day started. I got a little rest, but Jay and Aaron Zolman, they stayed up and run the pit, cooked the hog. I got up at 4, helped them wrap it, got all my KCBS meats on at 5 that morning, and we were turning hog at 9. And then shoulder at 10, ribs at 11, and then the KCBS categories kicked off at 12. So it was a busy morning.
So you're cooking as Band of Outlaws for the MBN side, and then as soon as that last turn-in is done, are you also then working independently as Mark Williams, the pitmaster of Swine Life BBQ, to get the KCBS side of things done?
Yes. So we kind of picked our categories. I handled everything with KCBS just because I'm trying to ramp up for the Jack and trying to get a lot better and smoother at things and brush the rust off. Tennessee Mojo, he's a world champion ribs. He handled the ribs. Heath, I mean, he's just a great all-around cook in any category you put him in. So him and Jay and them, Jay Craig, they handled the whole hog and shoulder. And I got in and helped build some of the boxes and, pull some parts off the hog and get the shoulder broke down and stuff like that. But as soon as we got done with shoulder, I was over there getting chicken ready, and, everything's hitting at that one time. And we rolled right into KCBS chicken and done ribs, pork, and brisket, boom, boom, boom. And it felt like we did not stop that day.
Just for point of reference for those that are interested in the competition stuff, how many teams were doing MBN? How many teams were doing KCBS?
I want to say total teams in MBN was around 25 to 30, I believe. Don't quote me on that because I didn't get a solid number, but I think total teams were there was almost 60, including KCBS and MBN. They were full. They were turning teams away. So there was a packed house for sure.
How many teams are taking part in the dual tournaments? I mean, that has to be a monster.
Some of your KCBS teams are jumping in and starting to do ribs. I mean, you're already cooking ribs. It doesn't hurt to throw, say, 4 more slabs, 6 more slabs on the pit, and cook them right alongside your KCBS ribs. There was a few that was doing everything, but that's a feat. That's not something you do on your own. You know, you take a group of guys or your good friends that, you know, enjoy cooking together, and you get out there and do it. But it's a big task to take on, I'll tell you that.
Band of Outlaws winds up taking the grand championship on the MBN side of things. So I would assume there's a lot of alpha males there that you mentioned yourself, a well-known, successful championship pitmaster. Jay, obviously, from Outlaw. Heath Riles is one of the biggest names, especially on the Memphis side of things, but he's won a number of KCBS and other sanctioned events as well, and the list just seems to go on there. So how do you guys share in that victory?
We were lucky to have this group of guys. That was one thing. We had several people come, like, how are y'all all cooking together? Like, y'all all have your own team. How do you not like the dominant cook, you know? But we didn't look at it that way, man. We looked at it more perspective of just having a good time. You know, we were wanting to do well, don't get me wrong. And this was the first time this hog pit that Outlaw built has ever been at a contest. So we were learning as we went as well. And we just celebrated together, man. We all went to dinner afterwards, and it was just like each and every one of us won. You know, it was a very, very cool experience, and we're not done. We're going to do it again for sure.
I was going to say, this has the trappings of a super team, perhaps for next year's Memphis in May. A lot of guys are on their own Memphis in May team. Heath certainly jumps out as one. Obviously, you help How to Barbecue Right or Killer Hogs when they're cooking Memphis in May. Is that a possibility, or is Memphis its own monster and you guys will stay separate at this point?
I think at this point, Memphis is its own monster. You nailed that on the head. I think it's one of them things that, you know, everybody has, you know, pretty well established a good team at Memphis in May. And, you know, who knows, we may combine one day, but we're definitely, you know, we're talking about trying to do American Roll next year. Spring Fest is a local MBN duel here we'll do. Have to go down to the Pig Jig. You know, we got several contests we want to go try to do as a group and just enjoy it. I mean, that's the biggest thing is, you know, competing is great, but it's the people and it's the times you know, the memories you make and the time you have with your friends. And that's what we look forward to.
On the KCBS side of things, you don't walk away with the GC, but RGC, that's pretty good.
RGC.
So that's a good weekend
Yes,
for Mark Williams. You get the GC on the MBN side and the RGC on the KCBS side.
I was 1.5 points, and Smoking Ghost edged me out. He got me. So congrats to him as well. And no, I was very pleased because I got a chicken call. I think it was 5th place chicken, no rib call, no pork call. And I was like, man, you know, if nowadays, if you don't get 3 or 4 calls, you're out of the running. You know, I mean, it's so competitive now. And that's one thing that I had to learn is I've been out of it for almost a solid year competing. And, you know, you better hit all 4 categories and you better do it right. And I was lucky enough to get a 180 in brisket, and that saved the day. So I think it was a 180, and I think we totaled out at like 701 was our score. So it was a good day for sure.
Yeah, anything plus 700, especially these days, is really hitting the marks. The week before Murfreesboro, as you were starting to dial up, you did a competition called Goat Days. You required to cook goat by chance?
They used to. No, it wasn't required, but they used to do like a goat roasting. There were several. They moved locations, so it was laid out a little different. I didn't get a chance to walk around and see all the other venues. They have a lot of like antique tractors and tractor pulls and stuff like that. So it was a little bit different this time, but I just focused on the contest. But yeah, it's definitely one. If you're in the Memphis area, that's a good contest to cook because they definitely take care of you.
And you win that one with a 7-10, no less. So, I mean, you're 10 points ahead of where you were a week later. So you were dialed in pretty good. Your programs were obviously running well. And then, as I said, anything plus 700 is pretty great.
Yeah, 710 is our highest we've scored yet in KCBS, and we were thrilled and just beyond excited with that. And that's really the only 2 we've cooked right now. I mean, we've done some local stuff and some like just backyard contests, hanging out, you know, just trying to stay sharp on our stuff. And the next one we got is the Jack, and I'm ready. I'm ready to get there and cook. Who knows what'll happen, but it's going to be a good time.
So what's the plan, Mark? I've talked to any number of pitmasters over the 15 years, 16 years that we've been doing the show, and it's changed over time. I remember there was a specific interview with Myron Mixon, and he said he was going to be turning in cafeteria style pulled pork because when he was turning in his competition style pulled pork, it just never seemed to hit down at the Jack. And what he saw being turned in was more cafeteria style, so he was going to give that a shot. And then that eventually evolves into, I'm not going to change anything that I've been doing. I'm going to dance with the one that brung me. And sometimes there's been various regional changes here or there, or they don't feel the judging palette might be up to par as a traditional KCBS contest because it's not a KCBS sanctioned event, although they help with the rules and the judging and all that stuff, and that's a little weird. But how do you dial in specifically for the Jack, because it is a very revered and it holds a lot of mystique to win?
I think I kind of go with the thing, keep doing what got you there. Obviously you pleased 6 judges when you got your grand, and your how many ever judges, you done good. So stick with what you got you there. We're not going to change anything. We're just going to try to execute our cook best we can and just hit our mark. And again, like you say, there's so many judges there that may not be, full certified judges. You got a lot of celebrity judges and stuff like that. But if you hit your marks and you don't beat yourself, what more can you ask for? That's my biggest thing, is I try to tell myself every time is, we didn't beat ourselves. We hit our marks, we turned in a good product, and then you got to hit them good tables and be a little lucky. I don't care what nobody says. It's still some luck involved nowadays.
Mark, if you could not need to work, if you were financially independent, do you think you would have a legitimate shot to get out on the KCBS circuit and make a run for Team of the Year?
I've thought about it. It's been a lot of discussion of it. Now, I'm not saying I'm fixing to try. I mean, that takes hats off to them guys. That's a lot of work. I was looking at some of the contests. I mean, you got guys cooking 25 and 30 contests. My wife probably would not allow that. It probably would have.
It's very expensive too, right?
Oh, definitely so. I mean, you're easily $2,000 a weekend.
Yeah.
I would say that. I mean, time you buy a brisket, if you're buying everything out of pocket, I mean, $1,000 is gone. That don't even phase it. But no, I definitely would like to cook a little more. And we're talking about, probably going to do 2 or 3 more this year, and next year really come out the gate and try to do at least 10, 10 or 15. Back in the day when we were cooking a little more often, I think we done 15 one year, and that felt like a lot then. That's still, you're rolling,
Yeah.
and
You need to do 3 times more contests to really get in the running for that.
yeah, I mean, if you're not cooking, I would say 20 to 25, you're not in the top 10. You're gonna have to cook those contests.
Mark Williams joining us from Swine Life BBQ. Once again, the website is swinelifebbq.com. Make sure you're subscribing to him over on YouTube as well. As he said, before the end of the year, hoping to get 10 pieces of new content pushed out. So we look forward to that. Mark, really appreciate you jumping in tonight for Malcom, and continued success. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure.
You got it. There he is, Mark Williams right there. Again, swinelifebbq.com, where 48, almost 50,000 of you are following Mark's cooking journey, and he is knocking it out of the park right now as it relates to the competition. I did see somebody in the chat room, Dan, there it is, Greg not having the royal winner on. Well, no.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Dan, look, the show is very popular. The show is booked well in advance. Sometimes I remember to leave open segments. This year, history made. QU won both ends. They won the Invitational on Saturday. They won the Open on Sunday. Nobody has ever done that before. However, have I reached out to the pitmaster of QU? Yes. Will there be a bonus content segment recorded at his convenience where we'll talk all about it, and then it'll be released in the podcast feed? Yes. So don't worry. I got it all covered. It just won't be on the Tuesday show, but that's all right. Look for that coming up. All right, so as we wait for Jess Pryles, let me talk to you quickly about Bub and Mothers. So many people look at Labor Day as the end of all things summer, yet Some of the nicest barbecue weather is still to come. Trending away. Indian summer brings a lot of warm weekends to gather, grill and watch football, and Bub and Mothers can bring the flavor you and your guest deserves. Not only is 100% natural, it has less salt than many bottles you will find on the shelves. Less salt means you can add more flavor by adding more rub and not worrying about oversalting your meats or side dishes. More spice and less salt also means these rubs go a lot further and last a lot longer. They're better value. Want some new ideas? Head on over to bubandmothers.com and click on the What's Cooking link. There, you will find some recipe ideas for the rubs, including making your own barbecue sauce, wings that bite back, our soon-to-be-famous redneck aioli, and a barbecue margarita, just to name a few options. Right now, until they run out, everyone who orders a 4-pack of rub, just $24.95. You can get a special t-shirt absolutely free. Just enter the code B4GO, B4GO, in the promo box at checkout and tell them what shirt and what size in the note box. And remember, every purchase creates an added donation to veteran charities. As a veteran-owned company, they're proud their service and continued support to all who wear the uniform. Bub and Mothers, Downey's Dinner-Dust, made with real maple syrup crystals and fresh roasted ground espresso, and their honey and heat, adding honey crystals and chipotle. Both create great flavors that only your taste buds can appreciate. Of course. Bubandmothers.com. That's bubandmothers.com. Buy the 4-pack for $24.95. And then enter the code B4GO at the promo box at checkout. Tell them what shirt you want, what size you are. We're back with Jess Pryles right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
We thank Mark Williams for joining us last segment. SwineLifeBBQ.com. This portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. Head on over to Smithfield.com right now for recipes as well as tips and tricks from well-known live fire cooks like Darren Worth, Jess Pryles, who might be joining us shortly, and Childs Cridland with mouthwatering flavor and no artificial ingredients. Smithfield Fresh Pork is quite simply some of the finest pork money can buy. It's the trusted choice of top cooks for use at competitions and at home. That's Smithfield. You can find all that stuff over at smithfield.com, and we appreciate their support here in 2022. All right, as we wait for Jess Pryles to come aboard, we can get some listener feedback from the show last week. Email coming in from Phil in Texas. Greg, really enjoyed the Guest Hall of Fame segments last week. I felt like an insider being able to hear the process happen in real time, fully transparent. It was hilarious when you or John or Doug would kill a name that was up for nomination. Poor Rusty getting a number of his nominations shot down. I loved it. Thanks for doing this every year, and thanks to all of you for the hard work you put in on this specific show. Regards, Phil. Phil, thank you. Also, Skippy in Washington State. Skippy? Is that your name? Can't be your real name. We'll go with it. Skippy in Washington State also wrote in. Greg, you mentioned in the Guest Hall of Fame segment last week that you thought the strength of each individual list was the best to date, and I agree. Thank you, Skippy. Listening to the names being read off each person's list has given me a newfound respect for the show. I'm not here to toot your horn, but those were some pretty big names that you were all just tossing around like it happens every day. To say that you have the biggest names in the industry on the show isn't just something cool to say. It's 100% true. Love the class of 2022 and can't wait until next September. Regards, Skippy. Thank you, Skippy. There was a ton of great reaction to this year's Guest Hall of Fame members, if you missed it. And I'm going off of memory here. We have Donnie Bray from Warren County Pork Choppers. We have, I don't know if Donnie's still actually competing. I reached out. I haven't heard back from him. Actually, I've only heard back from 2 of the 5, and one's related to me, so I don't know if I can necessarily count that, but one of the 4 remainders. But I reached out to Donnie Bray. I knew him at the time, and he makes it in as the pitmaster of Warren County Pork Choppers, Warren County in Kentucky, of course. My mom, Connie Rempe, also made it in to the Guest Hall of Fame this year. That is the second person I heard from. Chris Lilly made it into the 2022, am I saying 2023? 2022 Guest Hall of Fame. Haven't heard back from him. I did reach out to try and line up an interview. Noah Glanville, I did talk to him the next day, sent a number of options to get him lined up. Have heard nothing back currently.
Get that big stuff out of here.
And Mike Mills, which obviously he's not going to be replying back to me for obvious reasons, but I did send his daughter Amy a quick note after the show ended, alerting her to the fact that Mike has made it in posthumously into the Guest Hall of Fame here in 2022, and that the Barbecue Hall of Fame rings that were enacted as of last year are now in production for those that are making it into the Guest Hall of Fame this year. I was told last year was a nightmare production, raw material shortages, COVID, everything that you could think of. Those things didn't show up for months and months. Luckily, I didn't really tout it too much. That was more of a show after the fact. Doug was posting pictures of it. Bob Trudnak posting pictures of it. Tim McKeska posting pictures of it. So it grew in a grassroots movement type of way, I would say. However, this year, everybody knew all about it. I was pimping it as we were putting the class in. So the order went in. It said if you ordered rings, look for 7 to 10 days lead time in production. So to me, that means tomorrow, end of the week, they should be either done with production, lead time, or starting production, which means I don't know how long it can take. It's not like I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars on each ring. I'm spending hundreds of dollars, but not tens of thousands of dollars. So each one will be mailed. Once I get them in-house here to Cleveland, I will then reroute them to all 5 of the folks that are going to be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame this year. And once again, that's Donnie Bray, Connie Rempe, Chris Lilly, Noah Glanville, and posthumously Mike Mills. Amy said that she would make sure that she prominently displays the Guest Hall of Fame ring somewhere in 17th Street, which is incredible for me. And that's just another motivator for me to get out there and see what it's all about. So, yeah. Be on the lookout. Hall of Famers, be on the lookout. You got rings coming, and I've made a few changes this year, which most of you won't even notice. But I'm hoping that it really goes even better. And they were really cool last year, but this year I think they have the potential of even being one level up in the greatness meter. And they're nice showpieces. I don't expect people to put these on their stock 13 size. I don't even really know exactly how much that is, but holy moly. It's a big ring. Like, I could not wear that ring on my finger here, although it could probably fit right on my knuckle. My knuckle is like the widest part of my finger. Everything else is, very feminine with my fingers. By the way, if you missed it in the beginning of the first hour, coming up in a future show is the Pepper Grinder Challenge. In my right hand, we have the Pepper Cannon retailing for $199. And in my left hand, we have the new Black Rain that is in the high-end peppermill category, also retailing for $199. Ray Lampe and I are going to be putting those together. So if you're in the market for a very high-end pepper grinder or peppermill or whatever the correct terminology is, I would tell you to go to Man Kitchen. I would tell you to go to Black Rain and do your due diligence there. Maybe you're looking to buy a really nice pepper grinder for somebody in your family or a loved one. You really want to show them that they mean a lot to you, so you're going to bone out $200 on the peppermill. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm having a high-end top man call tomorrow with Dr. Barbecue so we can conceptualize what this whole peppermill challenge is going to look like. And then we will pick a Tuesday, and then I will use the pepper cannon and Ray will use the Black Rain, and we will put them through its paces. We will both give pros and cons. I mean, how bad can they really be? They're $200. These are things that should meet a certain expectation when you're dropping that kind of money on a peppermill. Believe me, I did a whole thing on it the last time we talked about $200 peppermills. Is this something that you need? No. There's a lot of things that cost a lot of money that you don't need. Do you want it? Do you have the means? Are you somebody that really appreciates finely ground pepper and having the ability to adjust the grind in a certain way? Are you fed up with BS pepper mills? Did you even know you had a BS pepper mill until you bought a pepper cannon or a Black Rain? Well, probably not. But once you have one, I'm of the opinion you would probably notice a big difference right off the bat. Does that mean you're going to buy one? Maybe not. But we'll see. We'll see what Ray and I think here once we get it done. We're going to try and press it in before the end of the year, and we'll go from there. It appears, I don't know if I'm putting the cart before the horse here, folks. It appears Jess Pryles nowhere to be found here this evening, and that's a shame. Actually, let's give it a whirl. You're not there, right? You there, Jess? Nope. Hello? Are you there? Hello? Oh, no. It's Jess Pryles, or it's Mo Cason chewing ice. Hang up on him. Hang up on him. All right. Well, I thought I'd give it a whirl. Sometimes the camera connection isn't there, but whatever. So I'm going to go out on a limb, kind of like I said with Rusty. Remember this? I'm going to go out on a limb. Rusty, I don't think you've ever heard of Bob Trudnick, correct?
Barbecue guru, jackhole.
Oh,
Thank you.
All right. Sorry. That's one of my favorite sound bites of the whole entire show. Me calling Rusty to the carpet saying, you don't know Bob Trudnick. That's a year ago. That's when we were putting Bob Trudnick into the Guest Hall of Fame last year. Happy 1-year anniversary to that soundbite last week. But that's where that sound drop came from during that show. And I said, Rusty, remember me questioning Rusty or calling him onto the carpet. That's where that was born. After he didn't know who Pat LaFrida was, never heard of him. I'm like, well, how could he have possibly heard of Bob Trudnick from the Barbecue Guru? So I called him out on it. And he's like, guess what? I do know him, douche. He turned it around on me. He did. Good for him. He knew who he was. However, a year later, he didn't know who Connie Rempe was. Is that your wife? No. So Rusty is a enigma when it comes to his knowledge of barbecue and grilling in history. But again, younger guy. And that's endearing. To me, that's endearing. It's not off-putting. It's not insulting. Somebody that's getting his chops, learning the history, all that fun stuff. So I don't expect Rusty to know 16 years of show content and who these big names are like maybe we do just because we've been around it a little bit longer. But it was funny for me to call him out thinking that I was right. He was going to have to say, no, I don't know who it is. But he did know who it was, but he didn't know who my mom was. Oh, that's your mom? Put her in. Put her in. Who cares? Love Rusty. And happy birthday to that soundbite, by the way, as we're just finding out. To fill a few more minutes, in case you were wondering, the 9 worst barbecue sauces on the market right now that you should always leave on grocery store shelves, coming from our friends at yahoo.com, are the following. And now, when we say ones you should leave on the shelf, we're not talking about flavor profiles. I prefer this, you prefer that. Of course, nobody likes open pit trash. We're talking about ones that you want to avoid from a nutritional sense. So these are based on sodium content and added sugar that you might want to stay away from on your next shopping spree. All right. Number 1, would I say in no particular order? Let me see. Story continues. I want to speak out of school here. All right. Yeah. So number 1 is most sugar. Here we go. This is the worst one. I've never seen this on store shelves. French's Cattleman's barbecue sauce. Leave it on the shelf. Serving size 2 tablespoons, 60 calories, 400 milligrams sodium, 1 gram of protein. Good for me. I'm trying to put on the weight. This one has the highest sodium content, 20%. So if you're trying to limit your sodium intake, you're going to want to eliminate your Cattleman's Kansas City Classic barbecue sauce. Number 2, say it ain't so, Sweet Baby Ray's. Oh. Number 3, Heinz Original Sweet and Thick Barbecue Sauce. Never seen it. Number 4, Kraft. Trash. 0 protein. Number 5, Great Value Original Barbecue Sauce. Great value. Number 6, 365 by Whole Foods Original Barbecue Sauce. Can that be? Whole Foods is bad. Number 7, say it ain't so, Stubbs Original Barbecue Sauce. That's one of my favorites. 250 milligrams sodium. Number 8, Seed Harvest Original Barbecue Sauce. Never heard of it. And rounding out the 9 that you should stay away from, Annie's Organic Original Barbecue Sauce. What? Not Annie's Original. I'd say half of these I've never even heard of. Well, now you know which 9 to leave on the shelf. And unfortunately, Sweet Baby Ray's and Stubbs is one of them. Joe, my shoe size is 17. You know what they say about a guy with big feet, right? Big hands. Hey, what do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they are fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The ability to do true two-zone cooking. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker, not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. And a Primo grill, the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. Plus, they have accessories that you're going to love. A Primo grill rotisserie accessory, so you can put chicken wings, pieces of steak, glizzies. Does anybody know what that means? Is that a term everybody knows? Glizzies? What about instant chat? Anybody know what glizzies is? I'm not going to tell you, but I'm just going to say a bunch of glizzies. How about pizza? Do you love pizza? Yeah, of course you do. You're human. They have a Primo Grill pizza accessory as well, ready for sale. Find it at a dealer near you. PrimoGrill.com is the website. That's PrimoGrill.com. Find a dealer near you. Check them all out. Find the oval that's the best size for you, and then buy it. You're going to love it. PrimoGrill.com. That's PrimoGrill.com. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. I'd like to thank Jess Pryles for joining us last segment. This portion of the show brought to you by somebody that was not scheduled to show up. Fireboard, that's right, Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, and Fireboard Pro, also Fireboard Spark. Barbacoa Bandits, glizzies equals hot dogs, absolutely, you got it correct. And might I say, good for you. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your house, you're in luck. Fireboard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. You can monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. You connect to the Wi-Fi or cloud-based monitoring or the Bluetooth, the red, white, and blue hoo-hoo-tooth, if you so desire. Again, that's fireboard.com, or you call them with questions, 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. Guy the Cooking Sam weighing in on Instant Chat. I was going to make Greg's special secret sauce recipe that he sent me until it turned into spend half a weekend making pineapple habanero jelly, maybe next weekend. Guy, wrong. You don't have to use that. It's just as good without it. Or you can go to TexasPepperJelly.com and buy the pineapple habanero already made by Craig Sherry. It's delightful. You'll eat it with a spoon. It won't melt your face off, but it will certainly give you a little bit of heat if you're so inclined. But you don't have to use the pineapple habanero in my barbecue sauce. It's just a recommendation. Really good without it. If you want to add heat, put in cayenne. Some nonsense like that. I found the stuff at my local Heinen's. They're fried jalapeno slivers, but then there's also an oil of some sort. Well, obviously, the jalapenos have infused this oil, so I'll take a spoon and spoon some of that jalapeno-infused oil into my barbecue sauce. That'll light you up a little bit. I'm not sure what your heat tolerance is, Guy, but that's really good. I'll snap a picture. Email me. I'll take a picture of what I'm talking about if you want to mess around with it. But you don't need to use the habanero pepper jelly if you don't want to use it. It's just a suggestion. That's all recipes are these days. It's a outline. It's a mere suggestion. Put what you want in it. What if you were allergic to garlic salt or onion powder, dark chili pepper? I wouldn't want you to use it. You wouldn't use it, would you? Of course not. All right, we are pointing to the second hour where we will talk about who will be joining us. We'll also be telling you a little bit about what's coming up on Friday. And if time allows, I'm going to be talking to you about something I never thought I would be talking to you about at the top of the second hour. If I don't do it tonight, this is one that will stay in the queue. And we might not get till it 6 months from now or 8 months from now, but it's going to stay right here because it's that good of a story. It's unbelievable. I can't believe I'm going to address the topic, and you probably know about it if you've been listening to any sports radio at all or any news at all over the last 24 hours because it references Cleveland. Stick around. We're heading to the second hour. We'll be right back.
It's Sam the Cooking Guy, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Some call him a fool, some even call him a douchebag. But I say Greg Rempe is the greatest thing to happen to barbecue since cavemen.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet for wiener.
But listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Yeah, just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. It's the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about only the most high-level barbecue and grilling-related items that are breaking across the nation and the globe. The industry of live fire, that's right. And we do it live each and every Tuesday night.
We'll do it live.
9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. It's happening live. It's also being recorded. Hour number 1 will be released into the podcast feed a little bit later this evening, although you'll probably see it tomorrow morning as podcast feeds update. Hour number 2 will be released at 1 a.m. on Thursday morning. You will see it when you arise for your day on Thursday. And then I'll tell you about Friday here in just 1 second. The Barbecue Central Show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
Still to come on the show this evening, Sam the Cooking Guy in about 12 minutes from now, and then closing out the show and or coming out of the bullpen, Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue. I can see he might have tried to sound check himself as I saw his picture in the switcher here as we were transitioning from hour number 1 to hour number 2. We say good evening to those of you watching this show tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook or Twitch/BBQ Central Show to watch. Also, you can take in the show via YouTube/RD Rempe, where there is a very robust chat going on right now with the likes of Guy the Cooking Sam, Smoking Joe's Pit Barbecue. By the way, Joe, congratulations on opening the barbecue trailer. Follow him on social media. You can see the goings on there. There's probably a quarterly segment with Smoking Joe probably coming up here. I know we are due for one with Rusty and his trailer. He's now almost a year in, so it might be good to pick up with somebody new, talk about building into it. Joe left his corporate job at O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Nice, secure job, probably had pension coming in, probably was ready to retire in a few years, and Joe was like, fuck it, I'll just go sell barbecue. Sure, smart move, Joe. So we'll talk about all of that. We also say good evening to those folks that are using our audio streaming platform, Clubhouse. So if you would rather hear us and never see us, Clubhouse is the way to do that. You download it, you find me somewhere on there, and then all you have to do is just punch it up and listen. You don't have to see us at all. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday, episode 249, taking you back to January 21st of 2021. And in keeping with the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame theme from last week, John Solberg quickly puts together a new 5-week run of the newest members of the Guest Hall of Fame. And this Friday, we start with the legend Mike Mills of 17th Street and Apple City Barbecue fame. This particular show is from when I did the In Memoriam for Mike, and that sound was pulled from the live on-site shows I did at the NBBQA event back in 2018. And again, as I had mentioned last week, That was one of my favorite interviews of all time. One of my favorite interviews I have ever done on this show. Not only because Mike was so great, but because it was the first time I took the show on the road. I did 3 days, 3 hours per day worth of live show. And Mike was one of the folks gracious enough to give me the time to do such a great interview on one of those days. I hope you enjoy it when you hear it. And be sure to go find the entire interview to really get a sense of Mike Mills and how he came up in this biz, how he always thought this was the second job, that barbecue was the second job. It was the flash in the pan. Wasn't anything that he was going to be banking on. He was a dental tech. That was the main business, and this barbecue thing was the side hustle. And then decades and decades later, obviously, the tooth business became the side hustle. But he never closed that down. It's, I think, still in operation, as I had mentioned last week. So I want to thank John Solberg for quickly putting these shows in the can over the next 5 weeks. It's going to be great. So if you are not familiar with who these guest Hall of Fame members are this year, which I can't possibly believe that, especially if you're fans of this show, you will get to know a little bit of Mike Mills and what he's all about. Again, the sound that you will hear Friday is from when I did the In Memoriam show after he had passed away early in 2020, I'm sorry. And that particular sound coming from the NBBQA event that I did in 2018 that was down in Fort Worth. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or a segment on the show that you fear has been lost in the archives of the show, which is now long-reaching and extensive, email John and let him know what you would like to hear. JON@thebbqcentralshow.com. That's JON@thebbqcentralshow.com, and let him know what you would like to hear. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, email me and let me know what you would like to hear in a best of, like in the subject line, put best of, and tell me. I will relay it to John. That way you don't have to interact with him if that makes you feel uncomfortable. But John's a delight. But I'm here to offer another avenue so we can get you the best of shows that you might want to hear. Upcoming shows in October for the remainder include visits from Meathead, Robert Moss from robertfmoss.com. Of course, he's the author of the Q Sheet. Aaron Huntelman from Go Big or Go Barbecue right here in Eastlake, Ohio. He'll be on. Talking about the big win over at the Hartville Hardware Grill Fest from a few weeks back. We'll see if he has risen to cataclysmic fame and fortune over that time. Obviously, to some degree, because he'll be making his debut appearance here on this show. But what else locally? Has Traeger hooked him up with a bunch of stuff like they did with Keith Harris a number of years ago? Was that a fly-by-night type of situation or a one-off situation? It's obviously not a fly-by-night situation at all. They're a very established, publicly traded company. Ryan Zabril will also make a reappearance on the show in October from Pits and Spits. Brian Halasinski, did you watch him on Shark Tank last week? I didn't. Curse it. It was on Friday. I was at Seton Hill watching the Seton Hill University Lady Griffins volleyball team get worked out of the gym on Friday and then again on Saturday, which is too bad. But I missed it. Don't ruin it for me. I'm going to go on the internet, take in. But I, again, had a feeling that while he was very tight-lipped and was under constraints and blah, 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 he said he wasn't allowed to say anything, but he was very excited about not to say anything. So once again, I believe that he got invested in or was bought into by one of these sharks, but I will find out for myself. And then we will talk to Brian all about it. We'll talk about the show. We'll talk about the Turbo Trusser. He's one of the creators of it, so looking forward to that. And many others, really, so stay tuned for the rest of the shows in October. Oh, dear. Well, this is going to be a thing. You know, I'm wondering right off the bat, I sent Jess an email right at the beginning of her segment at 9:35. I believe, once again, we have run into time zone issues, right? Of course. Because now I have Sam the Cooking Guy coming up at 10:14. And I believe we are now running into a time zone scenario with Jess at 9:15. We could have a situation. Maybe we do a two-sided interview. Maybe not. How can this happen? I have to be very deliberate. Am I not deliberate? Hold on a damn minute. I'm going to go back through. Suffer through me as I open these wounds. Let's see. All right. No. For here. Oh, yeah. See, I'm right on it. 10-4, 9:35 Eastern. Are you amenable?
Get that big stuff out of here.
Well, now we've got trouble in River City. Anybody name that movie? I know Bandito said he knew what Glizzy's was. Does anybody know where that line is? No? All right, fine. Forget it. Well, I'm not going to get to it here, but it's the biggest news item that's going on. And it almost has something to do with cooking. I mean, depending on what you're into eating. Maybe next week. You had to have heard the story. I assume you had to have heard the story. It's crazy. You won't believe it when I tell you all about it. All right. Let me talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grill, a choice line and a prime line. So if you want things like the following: Wi-Fi, you want to play around with an app to control your cooker, you want to turn it on and off from the app, you want to make temperature adjustments, you want to create custom cook cycles, you want to use internal meat probes, prime line. Yes. Also, you get a nice peek-in window on the main cooking chamber and on the pellet hopper. You also have lights on the inside of the cooking chamber. So if you cook in the middle of the night, you can turn on these lights. You can see what's going on in the cooking chamber. You don't have to bring a flashlight out or use your phone light. Now, if you'd rather save a couple $100, Choice Line, that's the one for you. It'll have all those really neat bells and whistles that I just talked about, but it is a nice, sizable, sturdy cooker. I have two in my backyard right now, and they perform flawlessly, and they're like 10 years old at this point. They still eat pellets like nobody's business. You need to pick the one that's best for you. Green Mountain Grill's only sold through dealers, so go to greenmountaingrills.com and then show up, get educated, see all the different models, pick the one that's best for you, consult with the sales guy, and then know that the one that you get, you're going to love. You're going to have success with it right out of the box. No buyer's remorse or anything like this. It's great. greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. You can pick the one that's best for you. What do I say each and every week? Whichever one you get the pizza oven insert, because that's the one you want. Quint Nelson, wasn't Trouble in River City the Music Man? Yes. Look at you. Good for you, Quint. If I had anything to give you for a prize, I would give you a prize. But I'm not. Anyway, greenmountaingrills.com, and we'll be back with Sam the Cooking Guy right after this. So stick around, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories to choose from. Whether you are just a beginner or you're a seasoned professional, definitely cooker you want to add to the arsenal, visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central show sent you. Well, this is something. I got to be honest. Is anybody even available today? There you are.
Oh, God. I got trouble.
I was just getting ready to... Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, you said you had trouble, and then I was
I do. I have trouble. My computer is not charged. And, I've got 2 ports on the side, and one requires this mic, and the other one requires power, but I only have one working port. Shit. So talk fast, buddy.
How much time do we have? I may or may not have Jess Pryles on the other line, and I can just switch off to her. As a matter of fact, let's see. Ready? I have no idea if she's even here or not. But oh, well, she's not there. It looked like she was there, but I can tell.
What was that?
We had a time zone mix-up.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm good for right now. I mean, then when you go to a break or something, I'll charge up or I'll say goodbye.
Yeah. So we got one segment. We got 18 minutes. You got 18 minutes?
I have no idea how much time I have.
All right. Well, let's see what we can push through. So look, for those that aren't,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm just happy to have you.
I'm just happy to be here and not with the game.
Well, that's funny you mention that, because for those who aren't frequent listeners, but they do tune in to Sam's monthly segment, there has been a change in format. So we're going to move the What Does Sam Like Best game to once per quarter. So you will see it once again in December as we close out the year. Merry Christmas, whatever.
Merry Christmas.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but while it's fun and different from the norm, it does chew up quite a bit of time to the point where we're actually not able to talk about anything else like food and live fire and all this other nonsense. Do you agree with the format change?
100%.
Yes.
And the comments that I get from people that watch both of us, they've said more often than not, they miss the they miss the food talk, the nonsense, the conversation.
Yeah. The banter.
The
witty repartee.
Absolutely. How are you, my friend? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. And your background is incredible. It's very breathtaking. I love it.
Thank you.
I asked Mark Williams this question in the first hour. He has a growing YouTube channel, roughly 50,000 subscribers. So he's getting there. And I asked him, how hard is it to come up with stuff to cook? Because I noticed he has been absent for 3 months, which is probably a no-no in content creation. But he had went on to say all this other stuff.
What's his regular posting schedule?
I think he was doing like a once a week kind of a thing, like a lot of cooking shows are doing or whatever. But let me ask you, as somebody who has been doing it, how long have you been doing it the 3 times a week? Is it 10 years now? Almost?
11
years, all right. And then you did the live show, of course, before that in a much longer format, and I was the only person that really loved that and watched it. But I want to ask you, how hard is it to come up with stuff to cook 3 times per week for 11 years? I mean, to me, it seems like you would have cooked everything 75,000 times already.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's not easy. So Max suggests things. I suggest things. Subscribers, viewers suggest things. We shot today. I came from shooting. I got home. I got home an hour and a half ago, and we shot. The hell did we shoot? We did a instant pot Italian beef sandwich, which is a Chicago thing. You had it?
Oh, of course, yes.
So look, you don't. It's sliced beef. It's not shredded. You do it in an instant pot, it's shredded. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say one of the greatest things we've cooked all year. Absolutely effing incredible. I said at some point, fuck the French dip. The Italians have won. Because the places in Chicago that make it, I think, probably the proper way, they build this whole sandwich with the meat and the crispy roll, and they put pepperoncinis or giardiniera or whatever on top, and then they take that whole thing and they dip it in that broth.
Yeah.
So I dipped this way, and I'm telling you, whether I effed it up, whether I did it wrong, I don't care. I said at some point, all that matters is it's delicious. It was effing insane.
Well, how did you dip it? Meat side like down or whole side, like
the
long
sandwich together in the end, and then
right.
So damn good. I could not believe how good it was. And the other thing we made is red beans and rice. Suggested. So the reason I'm saying this is suggested by a viewer subscriber.
Was that made as a side to Italian beef?
No. 2 separate videos. We shoot 2 at a time. We didn't always, but we've gotten much more efficient after 11 years. We'd like to be ahead. And don't forget, we're going away for a week, for 9 days. So we gotta have a bunch of shit in the can. So
now, if
3 episodes.
If you're a subscriber to Sam the Cooking Guy YouTube channel, you would notice for a number of weeks, Sam's giving away a 7-inch Nakiri knife now until the end of the year. I mean, that's got to be, I'm no mathematician, but that's like 648,000 knives that you're giving away before the end of the year.
A little less, but very close.
Yeah. What's the thought behind that?
Just have some fun.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, of course, you have to be a subscriber, so we get a handful of new subscribers from that, but really it's fun. The knives, I think, what are they, like $79, so they're way less for us. So it's the investment in dollars is not that much. It's a fun thing to do. We like giving stuff away. We have fun with it. We give away a ton of stuff at the holidays, and I don't know if we're going to do that this year. Maybe we'll do something different, but we'd like to give. I mean, I don't know if you'd call it giving back, but we feel that we're fairly giving to our audience, and we like to do that. I'm a fairly giving person. I do as much charity. This is not charity giving away knives, asking people to subscribe and giving away knives. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to draw an analogy between the two, but me personally, I do as much charity stuff as I can. I do feel that it's super important. So I just, if you use my Instagram yesterday, had a pizza that I did a collaboration with my favorite pizza place in San Diego that will start on the 19th, and the proceeds from the pizza will go to this particular charity, Stand Up for Kids. It's a roast beef dip pizza. So it's the crust. There's a horseradish aioli on the bottom. Then there's slices of roast beef on top. Then Fontina cheese. And then a combo of sauteed Fresno peppers and sauteed onions. Sauteed Fresno peppers and onions on top of that. It goes into the oven. It comes out. It gets a little fresh parsley. And then you get a side of onion gravy with it. You're actually taking your slice of pizza and dipping it in and taking a bite. And it is fucking amazing. But the money goes to charity. So that for me, that shit's fun. I like giving shit away. I like doing things like this. So it's great. It's great. Yeah.
Now, speaking of knives, and by the way, make sure you subscribe and you have a chance of winning a knife, of course. Everybody wants free stuff. Speaking of knives, you've recently added, and I've heard you mention it a couple times here through the most recent videos, a 5-inch Santoku knife to the Sam the Cooking Guy knife collection.
Yeah. Our collection, I laid them all out the other day when I was at the house, we were getting ready to shoot. I was like, Jesus. Sorry if I hope that doesn't offend anybody. I don't say it meaning to be, he was a Jew apparently. But Jesus, we've got like a proper line of knives now.
Yeah.
4-inch paring knife, 5-inch Santoku, 7-inch Nakiri, 8-inch chef's knife,
slicer.
the 8-inch serrated, offset serrated bread knife. We've got the I don't know, it was 9-inch slice and a fork, like a carving set.
Yeah, carving set, right.
Then we've got this 10.5-inch giant bastard. I don't think we called it that, but that's just will be coming out soon. And I love all the knives. I'm proud of the knives. I think they're great knives, and yeah, I love them. But I don't want this to be a commercial. Let's talk about food.
Well, let me ask you one follow-up question to that. So, was this something like you originally planned a collection of knives to release, or was it all like you did the 7-inch Santoku or the 7-inch Nikiri, and then all of a sudden you were like, well, this makes sense, adding this?
No. Let's have a knife. Let's make a knife.
One knife.
A knife. My favorite knife. And that was the Nikiri because it's like this, 7 inches, but it's wide.
Yeah.
And I like that wide blade because you can chop with it and then scoop up. And I think of it like a all-round utility knife. If I only had to have one knife, that would be the one. I mean, it's not tiny to do the paring knife stuff, but it's a good size. I could cut chicken with it. I could cut a grilled cheese in half with it. I could chop vegetables with it. Could I carve a turkey with it? Certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be my perfect knife. I would want a longer knife for that, for a bigger turkey, but it would work. If you only have to have one knife, get a knife that fits in your hand that you're comfortable with. I may have said this before. I remember years ago being in a cookware store, just butting around in the aisle and the shelves and stuff, and there was a saleswoman selling knives to another lady, and the lady that was buying the knives was tiny, and the saleswoman was like, "Here's what you have to have. You need a paring knife, and this." Then she's listing the whole thing. You have to have like a 9 or 10-inch chef's knife, and I thought 9 or 10-inch chef's knife. Geez, the woman's hands were tiny. She's not going to use it. That was just upselling, trying to increase her commission, and to me. That was effed up. I don't like that. I go back to Miracle on 34th Street selling, right? The Santa Claus saying, we don't have the toy you like, but if you go across the street to Gimbals, they've got it, right? And what did that do? It horrified the Santa's managers, but it made everybody go, Jesus, Macy's is a store with a heart. They care. Think about the customer. You put them first, you're going to be okay. You put yourself first, you're going to maybe short-term gains, and then you're going to be screwed, and you deserve to be screwed. It's not about you, it's about them. Wow, I just got on my high horse there for a second.
Yeah, wow. Soapbox is in full effect.
Oh, yes, it is.
Fully supporting Saying the Cooking Guy here. Let me ask you a question about crowdfunding, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind.
So we talk about these knives.
Yeah.
Perhaps somebody else would say, hey, I have a contact, or I want to get into the knife market or whatever, but I don't want to invest my own money. I don't want to go out and get a commercial loan, what have you. What's the new popular thing to do? Crowdfunding. So had you guys ever thought about going the crowdfunding route to raise money for the knives? But, backers get a small discount for ponying up cash in advance. You potentially have tens of thousands, if not maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in advance to get a project off the ground and going. No banks, no savings accounts, no investors besides your backers. This is just something you don't want to mess with? Because you have backed or ordered stuff that has been crowdsourced, like my that guy that's been on the show a couple times. Like
I'm still waiting.
Combustion Inc. Yeah, are you pissed?
I believe it's coming. No, I'm not pissed. I get how this stuff happens. I'm okay. I think if you decide that you're going to buy a product that's being crowdfunded, crowdsourced, whatever you want to call it, you're buying in at the very beginning when maybe you're just looking at an absolute prototype. So if the person says it's going to be out in August and it's not out till November, it's not out till November. If you're pissed off, you probably can get your money back. And by the way, if you're the person that's doing the crowdfunding and somebody gets pissed off, give them their money back. I'm sure they all do that. I'm not suggesting anybody doesn't, but I'm just saying that should be the rule. But that's what it is. Look, if that's how it works and it works for you and people are okay putting their money in it, I don't have any problem with that. We haven't done that. We haven't needed to. Fortunately, we've been okay. We've had, our own money. We could make these things happen. But I get that, other people, maybe that's the route that makes sense. You know what? It's such a different world today than it was,
Can you imagine 20 years ago going to the general public and saying, hey, pay for my idea and you can have a discount if we can make it happen?
But I think people look at this stuff now and they go, you know what? I like that. I appreciate what they're doing. I think that person's got a good idea. And I like the idea of being part of it. I just hope that whatever the incentive is good enough. Give me $200. The product's going to be, I don't know, whatever.
$200? I got one right here. Peppermill.
Yeah. Look at you.
$200 Peppermill. Or this $200 Peppermill. Black Rain, Pepper Cannon. Black Rain,
wait a second,
Pepper Cannon.
Black Rain, where did that go? I never even heard of that.
Black Rain. This one is fully electric. It's got 5 different pepper grind settings.
No.
It's got LED lights at the bottom.
No. Did you buy it or did you get it?
I was sent one to evaluate, and we're going to do a pepper mill challenge in a couple weeks.
And what about the cannon?
I didn't buy it. They sent it to me.
By the way, I bought my own cannon. In fact, I bought 2 cannons.
Well, guess what? I'm no mathematician, but in my hands, I'm holding $400 worth of pepper mills.
Math. Okay, but wait a second, buddy. Have you used it? You've used them.
Yes, of course, extensively.
Do you want to tell me? Do you want to tell me which one wins?
No, I'm not going to tell you because I'm doing a whole segment on it coming up.
We text me after. Come on, there has to. I have to have.
I signed a non-disclosure. I can't tell you.
I have F off. I have to have some benefit from. Wait, hold on. Low battery. Your Mac will soon.
Do you have a minute and 58 seconds? You think?
Go ahead. I probably do.
All right, that's going. Hey, the way we've been closing out segments recently, aside from saying we've just run out of time because the game show took too long, is what should I be making for dinner tomorrow night?
Shit. Okay, here's something that's probably out of the heads of most people in the audience. I know it wasn't really in mine. Indian butter chicken. It's a curry-based kind of chicken. It's that time of year. The weather. What's the temperature there today? In the
it peaked at 64. It peaked at 64 degrees.
So maybe it's not too cold yet. But Indian butter chicken is pretty simple. It's a handful of ingredients. Yes, garam masala is one of them, and turmeric is one of them. So I say go to the store that you can buy herbs in bulk. Just buy a little bit of each. But I say this all the time. Cook something. Don't make the same thing all the time. And I'll go further for this audience and go, look, this is a meat-loving, barbecuing, smoking audience. Get out of that. Go into the kitchen. I'm sure most of the people watching have a indoor kitchen. There's a thing in there called a stove. Some people call it a range. There's an oven. You can do things on that aren't outside, that don't have pellets or charcoal attached to it. Go in there, figure out how to make something, change your shit up. It's effing delicious. It's so delicious. Or go to samthecooking.com. Go to Sam the Cooking Guy on YouTube and just put in anything you like. And just put in salmon and stuff with salmon will come up. Steak. Shit with steak will come. No, don't do steak. No, don't. Anybody watching now, no steak. I want you to do something different. Something different. Do something vegetarian, for God's sake. Go cook some effing tofu.
You'd be happy to know that the guy from the first hour that I was referencing with the YouTube channel said that in his work contest, he made the Sam the Cooking Guy butter noodles, simple butter noodles. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think he said he came in 3rd place overall, but the deck is stacked against him considering who owns the company, Malcom Reed. So It's not like he's probably got a fair chance. I'm not saying there's
report
shenanigans going on, but
There's
let's just say,
shenanigans going on.
There could
Come
be
on.
shenanigans. Who
There
knows?
is. Listen, just do this, please. Everybody watching and listening right now, something different. Not this. Just because it's Tuesday and you normally make Aunt Ruth's chicken, change that shit up a bit.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Make something else. We don't grow unless we change. That's the words I'll leave you with.
If you've always done what you've always did, you'll always get what you've always got.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's really good. You're good, man.
Just made it up. Just did. I didn't
made it
really.
up.
I didn't really. Hey, Sam the Cooking Guy is right here. You can find him on the first Tuesday in the second hour at the 10:14 segment Eastern Time. Follow him on YouTube, as 3.41 million of you are already doing that, quickly approaching 4 million. And we will see you in November, Sam, if you can believe it.
See you. Yeah, in November.
All right, we'll see you then.
Peace.
There he is.
Bye.
Thanks, pal. TheCookingGuy.com, his website, and make sure you're subscribed to him over on YouTube for 3 times the cooking videos each and every week. Release new ones Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The most recent one was a incredibly involved hot dog. Not involved like difficult, but a lot of stuff on that glizzy. And don't make the same stuff. That's what he was saying. All right, Leonard Botello is ready to rock and roll in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces, the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa Smokers has everything you need to be a better outdoor cook. Popular flavors of the rubs and seasonings include Sweet Money Hot, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in backyards. 13 perfectly balanced flavors, transforming ordinary meals into extraordinary. Also, the owner of Granny's Barbecue Sauce. So if you're looking for a new go-to sauce that will please everybody's palate, why not give Granny's a try? Aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, they're also selling the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages if you're not a fan of pellet smokers or you don't know which grill you need. Call them. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with the truth right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Sam the Cooking Guy for joining us last segment. TheCookingGuy.com, his website, and subscribe to him on YouTube. Coming out of the bullpen this evening is an award-winning barbecue restaurateur in Houston and Brenham, Texas. His restaurant garnered 3rd overall on the most recent Texas Monthly Barbecue list, released earlier this year. His food widely considered to be some of the best in Texas, certainly at the top in the Houston area. But what does it take to get to this level of success? Let's head to the hotline and welcome in first-timer to the show and the pitmaster and owner of Truth Barbecue, Leonard Botello, joins us. Hey, Leonard.
How's it going, Greg?
I am absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you reloading in for this week, as we ran into a little bit of a time zone issue a couple weeks ago, so happy to have you. So before we talk about the restaurants, the success, the growth of the business, maybe a little background on you. Are you from a barbecue household originally? Isn't it something that you grew up around?
No, my parents, when I was growing up, my parents had restaurants, and I always swore that I was never going to get into the industry because I saw the toll that it took on my family. And, you know, your parents are never home, or dad's never home, mom's never home, vice versa. But they're always busy. You're always on the go. I mean, And my parents never wanted that lifestyle for me. So I went to school, finished at Texas A&M, and that's really when barbecue like really started taking off. And man, I just went first barbecue experience, I think 2014, 2013. And basically the rest is history. I just got fixated on it, and now here I am. Swore that I was never going to get into the restaurant business, and right back where I started.
When you're growing up, if they're, I don't want to say trying to talk you out of it, or I mean, you see what they're running up against as far as the grind is concerned. Like, do you notice as a youth that they're not happy, or are they complaining about the grind that they're going through, or is it just like a lifestyle they were hoping to get through and that you didn't have to do something that was as arduous?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the both. I think everybody that works in the restaurant industry will tell you how difficult it is and how much of a toll it'll take on your body. And basically the same information that I would give out, they gave out. So the same things that I preach, they definitely preach to me. And now I'm just living it firsthand. I'm not going to say that they weren't around. They were just on the go all the time. You know, somebody calls at the restaurant, you got to go. There's an event, you got to go. Which I never minded growing up, and I still don't mind it, you know, at my age now. But it's not something that you would really wish upon somebody, you know, unless you really, really love it.
So you're only in the barbecue game per se, going on 8 years. You said you started in 28. Is it 20 or 27? 2014?
About
2015?
2014 is when I got kind of fixated on it. 2015's when Truth Brenham opened up. So it was a long time and a short time, if that makes sense. Some people have been cooking for a lot longer, and it's been in their family for generations. This is not something that was really in my family, or I had not done previously. So
prior to opening up, then, were you learning your pitmaster skills under some, you know, grand master barbecuer? You know, you hear a lot of people going through the barbecue or Franklin, or, you know, any number of these, you know, big ones, and then they get the knowledge, they spin off, and now they're opening up, you know, Rempe's barbecue shop down in, you know, wherever, Texas.
Yeah. No, what's kind of, I guess, rare for me, like I was talking about in 2013, 2014, I don't know a specific date. You know, everybody's talking about how barbecue is booming. You know, you see people waiting in line in the Texas heat, 110 degree heat for 3 hours, which still doesn't make any sense to me. But to each his own. It's a cult almost. People love their barbecue, especially in Texas. But I went up there and I went to Austin, you know, to see what all the fuss was about. I went to La Barbecue and I went to Franklin's, and my holy shit moment was at La Barbecue back when John Lewis was still there, and they were all just starting off. John, Allie, Leanne, and you know, you kind of have like, when you have that craft style barbecue for the first time, it kind of like it's like a blast from the past. Like you start remembering all the barbecue you had growing up, and you're like, well, what the hell was I eating as a child? If this is barbecue, that was not barbecue. And man, I just got fixated on the culture, and like everybody, you know, were so, you know, proud to be out there. They wanted to talk about their stories of different barbecue restaurants they went to, different times that they cooked themselves. And I basically, you know, got home, and everybody has somebody in their family that, you know, cooks the best brisket or the best ribs or whatever. They'll fight you over it. There's always somebody in that family. Anyways, my uncle, he was a welder, and he was the barbecue cook of the family, I would say, or at least back then he was the one that was cooking the most. And he had this offset smoker that he had welded together. And to this day, that was probably the hardest pit that I've ever learned on, because it got so hot. It was so small. The surface area to transfer the heat was not, not very forgiving. And you start doing it, and you're reading all these cookbooks, and they're telling you to, pull at a certain temperature, season with this, or use this much wood, or
Leonard. Uh-oh.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Hopefully, Leonard Batella will join us, because that was a great story, and then it stopped. So, all right, it's not just me. Austin Parsons weighing in on the instant chat saying he's gone. So, I'm assuming there just was a internet drop on his end, and he's rebooting. There he is. Hey, Leonard. Yeah.
So, you're going by the books, and if you go by tit for tat for everything, it's never going to end up very good, because they're all basically suggestions, because every piece of wood is different, every pit is different, every cow is different, they're fed different things. And then once I started to figure that out, it was basically a game of Sudoku or Tetris. Like, you're trying to put all these pieces together to get to the end. And from then on out, it was one science project after another of how to get better day after day. And that's basically, it was an obsession. And to this day, it still doesn't get old to me. Like, it's still like when you pick up a video game that you grew up playing, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna give this a try. Super Mario Brothers. I'm gonna see if I can beat this level. That's basically how I feel about cooking barbecue.
When do you realize, or when do you feel most comfortable saying, I've mastered it good enough to where now I'm going to open up a restaurant? And then what do you tell your parents when you're going to open up Truth?
I think I'm a little different, and me and my wife go back and forth a lot. She's a lot more calculated risk person, weighing everything out. And me, I'm kind of like, oh shit, if I fall on my face, then at least I knew that I did it. I'm scared of failure, of course, but if I don't know, then I'll be wondering forever. And that's kind of like, that's where that started.
Leonard Batella joining us here on the show, the founder of Truth Barbecue. TruthBBQ.com is the website. You can follow him on Instagram, Truth_BBQ. So you get into business. You're obviously pretty good right off the bat. A lot of buzz going around. And then there's that whole Texas Monthly top barbecue, 50 list that comes out every 3 or 4 years. And you hit top 10 in 2017 out of 50. So
yeah,
that's a pretty big accolade in a fairly short amount of time.
Yeah. I think that was basically our goal. I'm kind of the person, like, if you're going to do something, like, give it your all, like try to be the best, or do the best that you can. And I remember having my father and I talked about this, like, if you're not in the top 10, like, then what next? Because, that's like, you want to get first place all the time. Like, that's what you want. And I kind of, wanted to set the standard and see if I could beat it. And that's my carrot. That's my carrot that I'm chasing all the time. I always tell people that the barbecue that I cooked 6 years ago is not the same that I'm going to cook today, and probably won't be the same from 6 years from now, just to, try to make things better day over day.
This seems like a ridiculous question to ask, but can making the list sometimes cause more harm than good in certain instances?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, coming out the gate, because in 2017, when we were on the list for the first time, we were not cooking at the capacity as post-list. And everybody that's coming in post-list is coming in to judge you based off of the list. So you really got to be on your P's and Q's, and it is a lot of pressure. I mean, you're not.
I assume that increase happens like overnight almost, right? As soon as that list is over, people want to hit that top 10 like right now.
Yeah, there's like I said, barbecue's like a cult. So as soon as that list drops, like everybody already has their idea for the next day of like what they're going to hit that day, like be it 3 to 5 barbecue restaurants. So everybody's in line the morning after the list, and it's kind of surreal to see that. Like, we could have been super slow 2 days before the list, and then next thing you know, we don't have enough pits to cook. That's how much power that list has. So it can make or break you, and you got to keep up with the consistency, and you got to keep up with the quality. It's a lot of pressure. Everybody's kind of coming out there to see what you do and if you can do it again.
Is that the piece of advice then you have for the new restaurants that really have a good shot at getting on that next? I mean, it just came out this year, so it's probably not going to be again for at least, a year and a half or 2 years to get the latest and greatest, like halfway through it, and then 2 more years until that next top 50 comes out. But is that what they need to really focus on first, is continuing the consistency, and then knowing that if they land on that list, whatever capacity that they're at is probably going to be under what the demand is going to be going forward, so they're also going to need to think about scaling up at that point?
Yeah. I think that probably the best advice, I mean, obviously, expect for the most, or expect for the worst, and, or prepare for the worst. But it's always going to be busier. Like, it's going to be busier after the list. It doesn't matter if you're in the top 10 or the top 50, but it's kind of hard to, and for me, I drove myself, bonkers crazy. You can ask anybody for each list. You get paranoid. You start to wonder if you made it. You didn't make it, even though you've busted your ass. And I think the advice that I would want to hear, like if I could tell myself, like back then, now, cook the food that makes you and customers happy, because that's ultimately what I was doing. But I was getting kind of blinded by the lists, and I was focusing on that versus, what I'm actually passionate about. And once you start to not care about those things, it relaxes you, and it makes you more comfortable, and it makes you be more in tune with yourself. That way you're not cracking under pressure. Because there were so many times where I mean, it sounds crazy. Like you get so worried that so-and-so is going to come in, like, oh my gosh, did these briskets feel good? Do they feel bad? I don't know until I cut into them. And you just drive yourself insane. It's not healthy, and it's not fun. But ultimately, if you're really passionate about what you do and just making, customers happy and people happy, it makes it so much easier and satisfying for yourself.
This year, as I had mentioned in the open, Truth takes third overall in the top 50. And maybe it's like asking somebody to pick between their favorite kid. But does the first time on the list, is that the most special, or the higher up you go always going to be the most special? Like if you got number 1 in 4 years, does that make it the best? How do you delineate between landing on the list twice now?
For me, it was never about, I mean, it was about being on a list, but it was more so being next to the people that, I wanted to be around, if that makes sense. The people that I looked up to, and the people that made me want to do what I do. The numbers are important, but for me to be next to somebody like Wayne Mueller or Aaron Franklin or Todd at Cadillac, like that means more to me than whatever number, because at the end of the day, these numbers are just they're numbers. It gets down to very nitpicky stuff, and it comes down to preference. So it's who's to say that Snow's is better than Franklin's, or Franklin's is better than Snow's, and you know what I mean? It's just they're all in good company.
Oh no!
Get that big stuff out of here.
What? Oh. Thought I heard him come back. There he is. Hey.
Yeah, everybody's been doing it at that caliber. It's so consistent for so long. It really becomes it's preference ultimately. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you one last question here before we wrap it up here this evening. And this maybe would have been a little bit more timely, when we were first going to go around, but I'm sure it's still on the top of everybody's mind from a consuming standpoint, and that's the cost of finished brisket. I'm seeing it all over Texas in some of the highest ranking places, $35-$38 a pound, whatever it is, broaching towards 40, let's say. Here in Cleveland, even at Michael Simon's Mabel's Barbecue, which I'm a big fan of and eat there fairly frequently, it's $35 a pound here in Cleveland. So as somebody who's living it each and every day, what are we looking at here? Is this just a sheer the suppliers coming to you and his cost is just more, and so the price is going up because you need to make certain margin? Is it everything else that's going up? And where do you see brisket topping out at, or is there no real idea?
I'm hoping that it already topped out during the pandemic, because when we started in 2019 at the Houston location, we were at about $319, $320 a pound. Then during the peak of the pandemic, we were like mid nines, and now we're just dropping to $550, $560. It just dropped in the past month. So I'm hoping that we saw the peak of it, but I don't know if it'll actually ever get as low as it was before. Man, I don't know, because with gas prices and then everything, all inflation, you don't realize how many moving parts there are to raise the cattle, process the cattle, then transport the cattle. There's so much money involved, and it's hard for us to dump that on the consumer on the back end, because ultimately barbecue was, it was poor man's food. It was a bunch of cuts of meat that nobody actually wanted. They were too tough to cook, and it was dirt cheap. So now you have craft barbecue with premium cuts at a high price. It gets hard to justify after a while. So I'm really hoping that it has plateaued, because barbecue is it's for everybody. So you want everybody to be able to afford it. It's America's food. So I'm really hoping that it's done and done.
Daniel Vaughn had made a mention a couple weeks ago when he was on that he thought that perhaps brisket over the last handful of years was actually undervalued, where a restaurant might charge, let's say, $22, $23 a pound when they should have been charging higher 20s or maybe into 30, but they were able to make it up on a pulled pork or rack of ribs or sausage. So brisket was underpriced on purpose in order to gain some of it back in some of the other profit leaders, where brisket might have been a loss leader.
Yeah, 100%. Because you kind of have to shield yourself from brisket prices and kind of make it up on the other ones, just because it's hard for me to justify spending $35 a pound on brisket. And it's hard for me to justify going to a steakhouse and spending, $80, $90 on a bone-in strip steak. So you got to make up in different areas. But man, it's so hard. And probably the biggest difficulty in barbecue is educating customers on how, like, if you're cooking on offsets, how much goes into that. Like the price of wood. I mean, the brisket cooks from start to finish I mean, if you're lucky, it's going to be, under 14 hours. Like that's lucky, like start to finish, cooling down, putting up and doing all the work. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes stuff, and they know that you're cooking overnight, but they don't actually know all the work that goes into it. And that's a huge part of brisket. And it's hard for me to justify spending $35 for a pound, but it's hard for me to justify charging $22 a pound, if that makes sense, because there's so much work. So if beef prices were down and we could get right in the middle to where the labor made sense and the price of beef made sense, and the price for the customer, then we'd be in good shape. But now that we're all over the place, it makes it pretty difficult. But I think the hardest thing for me over the course of 6 years has been being able to educate the customer, because they have an idea of how much work goes into barbecue, but until you've actually done it, especially in the Texas heat, it sounds fun, but it's not. It's a labor of love. And like the guys that we have at the restaurant now, like they're like me, I think. Like they have a sickness for it. Like it's hot in there, it's long hours, and but I think you have to appreciate the instant gratification from seeing that customer through the line, like being just like ecstatic. It's a whole nother feeling. It's not at that point, and I'm sure Daniel will tell you the same thing. Barbecue is really not about making money. It's more about, being around the people and seeing their interactions. That when I told you that holy shit moment that I had at Law Barbecue in 2014, that was a very special time for me. And from then on out, I wanted to be able to create that. And if you've listened to, different people's interviews or podcasts, that they'll tell you, like, when I was in Brenham, like I would give out pieces of brisket, like burn ends or whatever, and they would have no idea who I am, just so I could see like their instant reaction. If they liked it, they didn't like it, if they loved it. So I think that's a huge part in cooking barbecue.
Leonard Botello breaking it all down for us here, and we're tying up the brisket topic as well with a nice bow from a true professional and one that knows it, because he's dealing with it day to day. Truth Barbecue's website, truthbbq.com. Follow him on Instagram, truth_BBQ. Leonard, really glad we could line this up tonight. Really appreciate the insight and continued success. Let's do it again soon.
Thanks, Greg. Have a
you
good
got
night.
it. There he is, Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue. So if you are in the Brenham or Houston area, make sure you stop through and check out what third on the Texas Monthly's top 50 barbecue list actually tastes like. I bet it's magic. No doubt. TruthBBQ.com, the website. All right, before we head on out this evening, I'll tell you quickly about Vortic watches. I'm wearing one right now. Back in the day, watches made to be worn in the pocket. After World War II, wristwatches came into vogue, and pocket watches quickly became an afterthought, finding their ways into sock drawers and scrap heaps, or never to be seen again. That's a tragedy. Well, enter Vortic Watch Company, helping bridge the gap between America's storied watch manufacturing past and bringing it to the present day, where you can now have a pocket watch as a wristwatch. That's right. Here's the incredible part. Each watch that Vortic makes is unique and one of a kind. So the one that I have on my wrist right now, you can't get one just like that. It's not like a lot of these other luxury watch manufacturers that it looks just like every other one. Nothing looks like this one because this is the only one. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out Vortic, VORTIC, VorticWatches.com for more information, or you can buy one. They have a good number of inventory right now, and as Veterans Day draws closer, in November, they're going to be releasing that new Veterans Day watch, so make sure that you are on the lookout for that. Those are real special, believe me. You can go check out the website, see what they're all about. That's VorticWatches.com, VorticWatches.com. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
Thanks again to Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue. The website, once again, truthbbq.com. And follow them on Instagram, truth_BBQ. Getting a really good insight there, especially on that brisket topic as we tie that one up and put it to bed, at least for now. So certainly appreciate the time and willingness to come back on and give it another try here, as we messed up there on time zones a couple weeks ago when he was set to come on. So well worth the wait. Great info and great insight, great history. And congratulations to Leonard on all the success. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Mark Williams from Swine Life BBQ, having a great competition season this year. Shooting to take it down to the Jack Daniels and walk away with a grand championship. Talked about the Praise the Lord event a couple weeks ago, and then he GC'd the week before that at the Goat Days barbecue event. I tried to link up with Jess Pryles, but there was some time issue mix-ups there, so we'll try once again. Apologize to the folks who tuned in for that. Second hour, Sam the Cooking Guy made it in, and we did not do the What Does Sam Like Best game show. We actually talked about food and some new knives and his thoughts on crowdfunding and what you should be making for dinner tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that on podcast if you're just tuning out because you missed it. And then closing out the show was my most recent guest, Leonard Botello from Truth Barbecue. He is the founder of Truth Barbecue, currently sitting third overall on the most recent Texas Monthly's Barbecue Top 50 list. That is truthbbq.com and the Instagram truth_BBQ. Big show planned for you next week. Meathead will be here, and Robert Moss will be here, and then Aaron Huntelman will be here, amongst others. So, how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Dion Blumenrader with Big Hoss One Sauce, and you're listening to the best show on all things barbecue with my man, Greg Rempe.